I took back my nephew's Christmas present and gave it to my son. My sister and I don't really get along that well, but I try to keep things civil for the kids' sake. We both have sons around the same age. Her kid Tyler just turned 13, and my son Owen is 11. For Owen's birthday back in November, I bought him this new gaming system he'd been begging me for since like July. He was so pumped when he opened it. Like, the kid legit screamed. He's been playing it every single day since. Now here's the thing about my sister. She's terrible with money. Like, genuinely awful. I'm always having to lend her cash for rent or groceries or school supplies for Tyler. I know Tyler doesn't get much for Christmas because my sister can barely afford the basics most months. So, this year I decided to be the good aunt and I bought Tyler the exact same gaming system Owen got. It cost me like $400, but whatever. I had it wrapped and sitting under my tree for 2 weeks already. So yesterday my sister brings Tyler over to our house. They show up around noon and my sister immediately parks herself on the couch with her phone. Owen asks me if him and Tyler can go upstairs and play video games in his room. I say, yeah, sure. Just be careful with your stuff. Normal parent thing to say. They head upstairs and I go back to folding laundry in the living room. Maybe 30 minutes go by and suddenly Owen comes sprinting down the stairs, absolutely bawling his eyes out. Like full-on sobbing, can't catch his breath. Kind of crying. I drop the towel I'm holding and ask him what's wrong. He just grabs my hand and drags me to the front hallway. When I get to the bottom of the stairs, I see Owen's gaming system completely shattered on the tile floor. The screen is cracked. The controller is in pieces. Wires are hanging out. Someone had literally thrown it from the top of the staircase, and it exploded when it hit the ground. I look at Owen and ask what happened. He's still crying so hard he can barely talk, but he points up at Tyler, who's standing at the top of the stairs. Tyler is just standing there with this weird smirk on his face. I call up to him and ask if he did this, and this kid starts laughing, like actually laughing. He goes, yeah, I did. It's a stupid baby toy. Anyway, I saw people smash them on YouTube and it looked fun. I'm standing there in complete shock. My sister finally gets up from the couch and walks over. I explain to her what just happened. I tell her that her son just destroyed a $400 gaming system on purpose, and that he needs to be punished. I say she needs to pay for what Tyler broke. She looks at the smashed system on the floor, and then looks at me and laughs. Actually laughs in my face. She says, I'm not paying for that. You shouldn't have let them play unsupervised. That's your fault. You're a bad parent. Owen will get over it. It's not that important. I look down at Owen, who is sitting on the floor trying to pick up the broken pieces with his little hands, like maybe he can fix it somehow. My heart just breaks watching him. This was his favorite thing in the world, and Tyler destroyed it for fun. And my sister is telling me it doesn't matter. So I walk over to the Christmas tree. I grab the wrapped present that has Tyler's name on it. I rip the wrapping paper off right there in front of everyone. I pull out the brand new gaming system and I hand it to Owen. I tell him to go upstairs and set this one up in his room. My sister's face goes red and she yells at me, asking why I'm being so dramatic when I apparently had a spare one this whole time. I look her dead in the eyes and say, that was Tyler's Christmas present. But since it's just a stupid baby toy that's not important, you guys obviously won't miss it. Now get out of my house. Tyler finally realizes what just happened and starts absolutely losing it. He's screaming that Owen stole his present. I say, nope. Owen's system is the one you smashed into a million pieces on my floor. This one is his now. My sister is screaming at me, calling me every name in the book. She says I'll never see them again. I just say, okay, cool, and I open the front door and wait for them to leave. She grabs Tyler and storms out. Before she gets in her car, she turns around and yells that I'm a horrible person and that I just ruined her son's Christmas. I took back my nephew's Christmas present and gave it to my son. My sister and I have never exactly been close. We grew up in the same house, but it feels like we lived in two different worlds. She was always reckless and with money, relationships, everything. I've spent my whole adult life cleaning up her messes, lending her cash just until payday, buying groceries for her kid when she couldn't, covering bills she forgot about. Still, I try to keep things civil for the kid's sake. Her son Tyler is 13. My boy Owen is 11. They get along well enough, at least most of the time. For Owen's birthday in November, I finally gave him the one thing he'd been dreaming about all year, a brand new gaming system. He'd been saving up, doing chores, begging me to consider it. When he opened that box, his eyes lit up like fireworks. He screamed so loud the dog started barking. Every single night since, he's been upstairs with his headset on, laughing, playing, just being a happy kid. That's the kind of joy you can't put a price on. So when Christmas rolled around, I decided to do something kind. Tyler doesn't have much, not because he's ungrateful, but because his mom is terrible with money. I knew she couldn't afford big gifts this year, so I went out and bought Tyler the same gaming system as Owen's. It cost me $400, but I told myself it would be worth it to see him smile. I wrapped it up nicely, put a shiny bow on top, and tucked it under the Christmas tree. Yesterday, my sister and Tyler came over to visit. She barely said hello before plopping herself on the couch, phone in hand, scrolling like she was allergic to eye contact. Owen asked if he and Tyler could go upstairs to play games. Sure, I said. Just be careful with your stuff. 30 minutes later, I heard it, the unmistakable sound of my son crying. Not just a sniffle or two. It was full-on sobbing, the kind that twists your stomach before you even know what's wrong. Owen came barreling down the stairs, red-faced and shaking. What happened? I asked, heart pounding. He didn't answer. He just grabbed my hand and pulled me toward the hallway. And there it was. His gaming system, shattered across the tile floor like a bomb had gone off. The screen was spiderwebbed with cracks, the controller smashed, wires hanging out like guts. I froze. My brain couldn't even process it at first. Owen, who did this? Through hiccups and tears, he pointed up the stairs. Tyler stood at the top, smirking like it was all a joke. I called up to him. Did you do this? He shrugged, that awful grin still on his face. Yeah, it's a stupid baby toy. I saw people smashing them on YouTube. Looked fun. For a second, I couldn't even speak. The audacity. The cruelty. My sister finally looked up from her phone when she heard me yelling. I explained what happened, hoping she'd be mortified. Instead, she laughed. Actually laughed. I'm not paying for that, she said. You shouldn't have let them play unsupervised. That's your fault. You're a bad parent. He'll get over it. It's not that important. I looked down at Owen, kneeling on the floor, carefully picking up the broken pieces of his favorite thing like maybe he could glue his happiness back together. My throat burned. I've never seen my child so heartbroken, that was it. The last straw. Without saying a word, I walked straight to the Christmas tree. I grabbed the present with Tyler's name on it, ripped off the wrapping paper, and pulled out the brand new gaming system. My sister's face dropped. I turned to Owen, handed it to him, and said, "Go set this one up in your room, sweetheart." My sister shot up from the couch, eyes blazing. "What are you doing?" "That's Tyler's Christmas present." I met her glare, calm as ever. "No," I said, "that was Tyler's Christmas present. But since he thinks it's just a stupid baby toy, and you said it's not that important, you clearly won't miss it. Now get out of my house." For a moment, no one moved. Then Tyler started screaming, realizing what had happened. "That's mine! Owen stole my present!" I turned to him and said quietly, "No, Tyler. Owen's system is the one you smashed into a million pieces on my floor. This one's his now. My sister lost it. She called me every name she could think of, saying I'd ruined her son's Christmas, that I was petty and heartless. But I didn't care. I opened the front door and said, 'You're welcome to leave.' She stormed out, dragging Tyler behind her. Before slamming the car door, she turned and shouted, 'You're a horrible person!' Maybe I am, I thought, closing the door. But then I looked at Owen clutching his new system, tears still on his cheeks but a small smile starting to form. And in that moment, I knew I'd made the right choice, because sometimes being a good parent means protecting your child's joy, even if it means ruining someone else's Christmas story. My fiancé declared at dinner, "I want a prenup." "We keep everything separate," I nodded. "Great idea." Then I shared I'd already removed my name from our recent home deposit. Her parents shocked when they learned their daughter forfeited $50,000. Chapter 1. The fancy dinner that changed everything. The steak on my plate was medium rare, just the way I liked it. We were seated at the finest restaurant in town, an elegant, softly lit place where the waiters wore white gloves, and the cheapest wine on the menu still had a 3-digit price tag. It was supposed to be a celebratory evening. My fiancée, Julia, had just finalized the interior designs for the house we'd picked together, a beautiful 2-story property we were buying as our forever home. I'd fronted most of the $50,000 down payment, but everything had been in our shared name, a symbol of trust, of building something together. Her parents were there too. They were always present, supportive, but overbearing in that upper middle class. My daughter deserves the best kind of way. Her father, Roger, a retired lawyer. Her mother, Clarice, a country club queen with opinions sharper than the cutlery on the table. As the dessert menus landed, Julia smiled sweetly at me, then put her spoon down. "I've been thinking," she said loud enough for her parents to hear. "I want to pin up. Full separation of assets. Everything I've worked for stays mine. Everything you've worked for stays yours." The table went silent for a beat. Roger gave a slow, approving nod. Smart. Protects both parties. Clarice sipped her wine and smirked like she had orchestrated the whole thing. I didn't flinch. I just smiled. "That's a great idea," I said calmly, folding my napkin. "I've already made some changes in that spirit." Julia blinked. "What do you mean?" I turned to Roger. "Since we're keeping everything separate, I had the lawyer update the home ownership documents. I removed my name. It's now fully hers. She'll be responsible for the mortgage, taxes, and maintenance moving forward." Julia palled. "Wait, what?" Roger's face changed color. "You did what?" Clarice leaned forward. "The house was supposed to be a joint investment." "Exactly," I said, picking up my glass. "But since Julia wants full separation, I figured I'd let her keep everything, including the $50,000 deposit I paid last month. I just considered it an early wedding gift." Julia was frozen. Her mouth opened, but nothing came out. I stood up slowly. "I think I'll skip dessert." As I walked away, I heard Roger mutter to Julia in a harsh whisper, "You just lost $50,000 and possibly your future husband over your mother's stupid idea." Chapter 2. Cold silence and even colder consequences. The night air was brisk as I stepped outside the restaurant, my heart pounding, not with regret, but with clarity. I'd given Julia the one thing she seemed to value most: independence with strings attached. She had no idea those strings had been quietly snipped. By the time I got home, my phone had already buzzed a dozen times. Missed calls, texts, voicemails, all from Julia. "Julia, babe, please, can we talk?" I didn't mean it that way. "Julia, my dad's furious. He's yelling at me in the car." "Julia, let's just cool off and talk tomorrow." I'm sorry I didn't reply. Not out of cruelty, but out of a deep realization. This wasn't a moment of poor wording. It was a reflection of her values. And now, consequences had finally caught up. The next morning, I sat at my kitchen table sipping black coffee, watching the sun rise over the neighborhood I was no longer planning to stay in. At 9 a.m., sharp Julia showed up. No makeup, puffy eyes, messy hair, a far cry from the polished, poised woman who had smiled while blindsiding me the night before. She didn't wait to be invited in. "Please don't do this." "I'm not doing anything, Julia. I'm just giving you what you asked for. Full separation. We're just getting started, right?" That was for protection. You know how marriages are these days. Everyone signs prenups. I raised an eyebrow. But we weren't everyone. We were supposed to be different. She looked away. Then she said the quiet part out loud. "My mom said you were too trusting. That we needed to be smart. That if things went bad, I shouldn't lose everything." "So you were already planning for things to go bad?" I asked. Silence. I sighed and leaned back. "Julia, I was going to transfer the house to both our names after the wedding. I had the paperwork drafted. You were going to have security, partnership, and love. All of it. But instead of trust, you brought a contract." Tears welled in her eyes. "Can we fix this?" "No, Julia, because now I see clearly. You didn't want to build a life. You wanted to hedge it." Later that day, I received a call from Roger, her father. "I just wanted to say, I'm sorry," he muttered, his voice growly with embarrassment. I thought the prenup was just a formality. I didn't realize how serious she was, or that she'd destroy a good thing because of her mother's paranoia. I didn't respond right away. Then he added, "Clarice is livid. She said you played us all. But I think you were just smarter than we gave you credit for." Chapter 3. A house no longer a home. It had been 3 days since the dinner. 3 days of radio silence from me and desperation from Julia. I'd expected anger, maybe insults. But instead, what came was a mix of guilt-laced apologies, long-winded texts, and even a letter slid under my door that ended with, "I never wanted to lose you. I just wanted to feel safe." But safety had come at a cost. The house she thought she owned. The $50,000 she had contributed, her life savings, was never meant to be lost. I'd made sure of that. When we first started the house purchase process, I had my lawyer draft a side agreement. If the wedding didn't happen, and if the house remained solely under my name, I'd refund her entire contribution, minus any damages if the fallout was her fault. And now I had receipts, screenshots of her declaration, witnesses from the table, my own recordings from financial meetings. She wanted separation, so now she had it. But I didn't stop there. That same day, I called the realtor. "Hey, David," I said calmly. "I'm putting the house on the market. I'm moving forward alone." There was silence on the line. "Then you sure? It's a beautiful property, I'm sure." And just like that, the gears were set in motion. By the weekend, the for sale sign was in the lawn. Julia's mother had a meltdown. When her mom, Clarice, saw the sign during her morning walk, she stormed to my door. "How dare you? You're punishing Julia for protecting herself." I didn't open the door. I just pressed the intercom button and calmly replied, "No, I'm just correcting a mistake." The mistake was trusting that our relationship meant more than money. I was wrong. Now I'm making it right. She screamed something about lawyers and emotional distress, but it was all noise. I had every document, every text, every legal right, and now every ounce of peace. But fate had one more twist. 2 days later, the house had a buyer. Ironically, it was a young couple who had just gotten engaged and didn't believe in prenups. When I handed over the keys, I felt no anger, just release. As I turned to leave, the new bride-to-be smiled and said, "We saw the listing and felt like this house had a story, like someone let go of something heavy here." I nodded. Yeah, someone did. Chapter 4. The Apology Tour and the Backfire. It started with an Instagram post. Julia uploaded an old photo of us at the beach, sunset behind us, smiles plastered on our faces, and captioned it, "Sometimes we don't realize what we have until we lose it." I made mistakes. I chose fear over trust. I hope he knows I never stopped loving him. It got over 2,000 likes. The comments were split. "You go, girl. Fight for your man. You blew it. He deserved better. Why'd you push him away with that prenup if you still loved him?" It was a digital battlefield. And for once, I wasn't the one bleeding. The public reversal Julia wasn't done. She started showing up at mutual friends events, telling her side, "He blindsided me. I just wanted clarity. He acted like I didn't care." But what she didn't realize was that everyone already knew what had gone down. They'd seen the dinner drama, heard her parents' smug approval, watched her push a man who loved her into a corner, and now cry victim. And then came the bombshell that ended her campaign. The podcast clip one of our old friends, Amy, ran a mid-tier relationship podcast, casual stuff, dating fails, marriage advice, prenups. She posted a new episode titled "When Love Meets Contracts, a Real Story." She didn't say names, but the details were unmistakable. The fiancé who gave $50,000, the sudden prenup demand, the public fallout, and the kicker. You can't demand total separation and expect full commitment. You can't cash the emotional check if you don't even want your name on the account. That quote went viral. Suddenly, Julia wasn't the sympathetic ex anymore. She was the face of self-sabotaging greed. Meanwhile, I was quietly moving forward. While Julia tried to patch a sinking ship, I was building something new. A friend of mine in real estate offered me a spot on a podcast about financial independence and emotional intelligence in modern relationships. I agreed, not to attack Julia, but to tell the story of what happens when love gets treated like a business deal. It was calm, respectful, measured, but people resonated, DMs came in, emails, even a few business opportunities. I had gone from heartbroken fiancé to unexpected voice of reason in modern dating. And then came the unexpected message. It was from Julia's father. "I may not have said it earlier, but you were good to her. Too good. I'm sorry for the way we made you feel that night." I read the message twice. No anger, just irony. The man who once smirked at the word prenup now sounded ashamed that his daughter's best shot at happiness had walked away with his dignity intact and her $50,000 gone for good. Chapter 5. The Last Card She Played. 2 weeks after the podcast clip went viral and my inbox was still flooded with interview requests, I got an unexpected call. It was Julia. Her voice was soft, controlled, but there was a shakiness beneath it. "Can we meet just once?" Not to argue. I need to say something in person. I didn't answer right away, but part of me, maybe the part that still remembered what it felt like to dream about a future with her, agreed. The final conversation. We met at a small coffee shop we used to visit during the early days. She had barely touched her drink. She looked different, not polished, not put together like she used to be, like the public pressure had worn her down. "I know I messed up," she said quietly. "I wanted security. I didn't realize I was trading love for control. I didn't say anything. I let her speak. I talked to the lawyer. I told him to scrap the prenup. We could still close on the house if you wanted to, or we could start fresh. There it was, her last card, an offer to turn back time, undo it all. But it was too late because while she was trying to fix the past, I'd already stepped into the future. The truth was, I'd already reallocated the $50,000, not into a house with her, but into the down payment for a new business idea, a relationship consultancy that focused on helping people navigate marriage, prenups, finances, and emotional maturity. A startup I co-founded with the same podcast host who'd aired my story. And yes, there was someone new in my life. No grand declarations, no drama, just quiet support, respect, and mutual growth. The look on her face. When I finally spoke, my voice was calm but firm. I don't hate you, Julia. I never did. But I'm not the same man who walked into that dinner. You showed me that love shouldn't require a backup plan or be used as one. Her eyes welled up, so that's it. I nodded slowly. That's it. She didn't beg. She just nodded, stood up, and walked out the door like a ghost of what could have been. The tables had turned. A year later, I'd be invited to speak at financial empowerment conferences. Julia, I'd heard, had been let go from her firm after her ex-boss saw the podcast and realized the self-sabotaging greed story was about her. Poetic. Her parents quiet, invisible. My business, growing fast. And as for love, it came back real, whole, and uncompromised. Epilogue, the power of calm decisions. It's been 18 months since that dinner. No raised voices, no legal battles, no burned bridges, just a quiet, calculated redirection of my life. And it was the best thing that ever happened to me. What Julia never understood. Julia thought asking for a prenup was a smart business move. She forgot that relationships aren't businesses and love isn't a contract you negotiate after securing the deal. She thought I'd resist that. I'd argue. She never expected me to agree and outmaneuver her with nothing but grace and preparation. In her mind, she'd protected herself, but in reality, she walked away with nothing while I walked away with everything that mattered. My money untouched, my dignity intact. A thriving career born from the story of her betrayal, and a new relationship built on shared values, not hidden motives. The new chapter, the podcast episode that shared my story, it reached over 4.5 million downloads. That startup I launched now clearing 7 figures annually, helping others navigate the very financial and emotional traps I once stumbled into. I still live in the same city. I pass by that restaurant sometimes, and every now and then I see Julia's parents at local events. They avoid my gaze, not out of anger, out of shame. The final lesson. Sometimes revenge isn't about exposing someone. Sometimes it's about letting them expose themselves and ensuring that when they do, you've already stepped far ahead. Not every story ends with destruction. Some end with quiet triumph. And this was mine. Was this revenge perfectly justified? Or should the storm have raged harder? Drop your verdict below. I read every single one. Hit like if you crave justice and share this story with someone who needs its fire. Subscribe to Revenge Exposed because here betrayals don't sleep. They hunt their owners. Every shadow hides a reckoning. Every mask breaks and every betrayal is answered. Stay sharp. Stay unbroken.